This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cassie Soto with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We have some big news coming from Las Vegas tonight. Jon Gruden has resigned as the Raiders head coach. The Raiders announced earlier this evening that Gruden has stepped down amid the growing controversy over emails sent out while he was an analyst for ESPN's Monday Night Football. On Friday, the Wall Street Journal reported that Gruden had used racially insensitive language about NFL Players Association Executive Director DeMaurice Smith. Earlier today, the New York Times reported on additional emails sent out by Gruden that contained offensive, homophobic, and misogynistic language. Review-Journal's Raiders beat writer Vinny Bonsignore joins us now. Vinny, we spoke to Jon Gruden earlier today for his weekly press conference, and I don't know about you, but I did not get the sense that he was going to be resigning today. How did we get here?
Well, when the New York Times released their findings from, the emails that the NFL uncovered as part of the investigation on the Washington football team. And if you read what was said and what was written, there was no question that Jon Gruden's days as the Raiders coach were numbered, whether it was them firing him or them accepting his resignation. One way or another, he had to go. It's disappointing what the content, of those emails were all about. And there's no place in football, there's no place in society for any of that nonsense. And there was no way that the Raiders were going to be able to stand by Jon Gruden or continue with him as the face of their franchise. No way whatsoever. And they did the right thing, whether it was pressuring him into resigning or convincing him to resign. Anything short of that, they would have fired him. But there's no way that they could have moved forward with Jon Gruden, not after what we saw in those emails today.
Yeah, and going off of that, the Raiders obviously pride themselves on being an inclusive organization, hiring the first Latino head coach, the first African-American head coach, hiring the first woman CEO. We do know how much Mark Davis loves Jon Gruden, gave him that, fancy paycheck there, that long contract. But was this just too much for Davis, do you feel?
It would have been too much for anybody. You just can't. You can't say those things. You can't write those things. You can't think those things, and not, be allowed to work in any kind of a position of power, or as good as Jon Gruden might be as a head coach. There's 32 spots open as NFL head coaches. It's a privilege to be an NFL head coach. It's a privilege to have any kind of job, to be honest with you. But let alone be the face of an NFL franchise. And if those are your thoughts, if you feel comfortable in saying that kind of nonsense, there's no place for that in the NFL and really anywhere.
Thanks so much, Vinny. Well, now for the fans' perspective, let's go ahead and bring in sports reporter Sam Gordon. Sam, I know that you spoke to fans on Sunday at the Raiders home game. Can you just tell us their perspective and where they were coming from hearing the news about head coach Jon Gruden? Then it was just the one email, and now obviously we're here today.
Well, first and foremost, Cassie, we approached a number of fans, and a lot of them declined to do the interview because it was a touchy subject, right? It's a very touchy subject for a lot of fans. It shouldn't be, but it was. And a lot of fans didn't want to comment. But the fans that did comment, we heard a number of reactions. There was one fan I spoke with, a man who said it's egregious, you can't condone it, it's absolutely reprehensible, more or less, I'm paraphrasing here, in that it's not okay. Gruden owed the fan base a very public and contrite apology, an apology right for contrition. On the other side, you heard people say, it was 10 years ago. It was a long time ago. I'm not judging anybody. People say things in their past. We've all said some things. And then I got a response kind of down the middle where it was, we don't want to lose our coach here. It's a situation where, he said some things. He should be held accountable. But I'm not offended by it. That was kind of the reaction. So it was very mixed. It was very all over the place. And it was a place that a topic people didn't want to discuss. So it just kind of goes to show how the severity of the comments and how polarizing they were. Again, they shouldn't be polarizing, but they were to a number of people. So, it definitely made waves within the fan base one way or another on Sunday before the new emails. And obviously, I'm sure there are a lot more opinions now.
Sam, I know some fans were saying that they wanted an apology specifically from Gruden to the fan base. Do you think that now they will accept what Gruden said? He said, I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings. I'm paraphrasing here. Do you think that that's enough for the fans who wanted that apology?
No, I don't, Cassie. This is a very generic statement, the kind of the cliche statement you would expect from somebody to put out in a situation. What we didn't get, what I don't feel like we got, was contrition, detail, accountability from Jon Gruden over the past couple of days. He was even asked a question on Monday afternoon during his press conference. What have you learned throughout this process during the backlash from this process and the reaction? And I thought he sidestepped that and didn't really give a detailed answer and just didn't want to discuss this very much further. So it goes to show, he says he wanted accountability, but when it was time to be accountable and when he had an opportunity and a platform to really give details and really share what he felt and what he had learned and the things he had experienced since these emails came out, he declined. And I think that spoke volumes. And as we know, the emails have come out, the new emails have come out since then. And actions are louder than words.
Thank you so much, Sam. Now for more on this story, let's toss things over to Heidi Fang and Adam Hill.
Thanks, Cassie. So, Adam, the Raiders have named their interim head coach, Rich Bisaccia. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's a longtime assistant in the NFL and a very close confidant of Jon Gruden. He's been the assistant head coach and special teams coach for a while, and he's been all around the league. He's got relationships with everybody. Obviously, with the current coaching staff, he's very plugged in and knows what everybody wants to do, and it just makes sense. A special teams coordinator, even when they're not the assistant head coach, makes a ton of sense because it allows the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator to stay in place, continue doing their job, and have that continuity as the special teams coach just moves over and takes over those head coaching duties. Now, in this case, very tricky for the Raiders because Jon Gruden, not just the head coach, also the play caller. So you assume Greg Olsen takes over in that role. That's a big change for the offense. But for everyone else, a lot of continuity here, as Rich Bisaccia is kind of that guy that has taken on a lot of those roles. He's acted a lot as the head coach because Jon Gruden has so much responsibility on the offensive side, and we know the Raiders special teams have been very good. So Rich Bisaccia, a very safe, solid choice as the interim head coach here, and the Raiders, I'm sure, will start a very extensive search for who the next head coach is. Interesting to note, Gus Bradley has been a longtime head coach in the league. He has that experience. Obviously, the defense is playing very well. I think a lot of people thought maybe it was his duty to jump up and take over the head coaching spot, but it just makes more sense to have Rich Bisaccia do it. It has a lot more, ability to stay on the even keel, stay status quo for everybody else because there's a lot of chaos going on around the team right now.
Finally, the players will have very little time to process all of this because they've got a game on Sunday, Adam. What does it mean that they have to face a divisional opponent coming up here Sunday after kind of going through all of this and what's happening?
Yeah, a huge challenge for sure to get ready for a very good Denver team that also, like the Raiders, has lost 2 straight and is hungry to get back on track here. So they're going to get back to work. Tuesday usually a day off. I wouldn't be surprised if they're around the facility a little bit on Tuesday to start to prepare and get ready, and then Wednesday it's a normal practice again. And like we said, it's the offense and the defense. They're both run separately. They're separate units, and they can continue to do the things that they've always done. Rich Bisaccia just takes over those, the press conferences and the main job on the sideline on Sunday. But really, those 2 units are going to stay largely intact. So I think what we'll hear from the players is, hey, it's a game week. We know how to prepare for game week. It's a routine in the NFL, and we're going to push forward. But the reality of the situation is, obviously, there's a ton of distractions and a lot of disarray within that organization that they have to deal with. I'm sure they will be thrilled to be on a football field and not answering questions about this for 3 hours on Sunday.
And that preparation will start on Wednesday. Now back to you, Cassie.
Thanks so much, Heidi and Adam. Now we will have much more for you over the coming days at vegasnation.com, and we will have an update on all of the day's events for you tomorrow morning on 7 a.m. For all of us here at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I'm Cassie Soto. Thank you so much for joining us.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.